4-minute mark.
Hey?
It's the 4-minute mark. Yeah.
The 4-minute mark. I'll remember. I'll find it on the thing, don't worry. Welcome back to another episode of RecTalk. I'm your host, Nitin Sharma, the founder of RecTools.io. It is the world's only whole-of-market directory with unbiased reviews and every supplier that you need for your recruitment business listed from A to Z, ranked by reviews and available for you to search for free. There's no sign-up required, there's no monthly subscription required. If you're looking for a new vendor for your business, get onto RecTools.io and get cracking. So, one of the things we wanted to talk about today then was recruitment technology and the boom that's happened in the industry, certainly over the last sort of 2 to 3 years. Post-COVID, people have we're almost ushered into this digital age, and we had to make a decision as recruitment business owners as to, do we adopt technology? Do we grow out our propositions? Do we go global? Do we go remote? Do we go change our geographical models and so on and so forth? Unfortunately, the byproduct of that really seems to have been that there's sort of essentially two types of recruitment businesses that are out there right now, and you got the early adopters that jumped on board with all the tech, signed up to a whole range of different product suites, but aren't necessarily making the most of those. And then there's the others that have kind of held back a little bit out of fear, perhaps, out of a desire to kind of see how it goes, maybe not understanding the full tech stack and sort of not knowing where to start. So my guest today to kind of pull that apart and to give you guys insight into sort of what services he provides to support recruitment business owners is Richard. Richard, thank you for making the journey and popping down today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, mate. So am I on point with that then? There's people that have jumped in straight away and kind of bought everything and gone, oh, this is fantastic, and great product suite that they've got, but not necessarily doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. You end up with a lot of products just get shelved after sort of 3-4 months, and then they're just not used by the team. And then there's others that are kind of like, what is it?
Absolutely. What I've found in the few weeks that I've been running my business is that you do have these two key differences in business types. You have those that go out to market and buy everything because they've heard that it's absolutely brilliant. More often than not, it's not implemented correctly and perhaps isn't fully implemented with a business mind. It's kind of implemented to serve a particular purpose at that particular point. Perhaps if there's a particular client requirement or the market shifted, or you feel that it needs to be implemented quickly, or equally, as you've just said, there's a certain trepidation with investing in some of these perhaps 12, 24-month contracts that then ties them in, and suddenly they invest in something that they don't necessarily need. So they might not necessarily even invest and end up exactly where they are. Yeah. So what I try to promote with my business is to help them on that journey. I look at their business first and try to understand how they're operating and almost take an agnostic approach to what I suggest they do or how they suggest they do it. And it's not necessarily just tech implementation. It's looking at their processes and understanding how they're operating, or if they're looking to create a new business unit or enter a new market. The US is obviously very popular with a lot of recruitment businesses at the moment, and making sure that they are teed up and geared up to embark on that journey. There is just that key differential between the two, and just in these few short weeks that I've been operating under my new business, that seems to be the key.
Is there a trend? The ones that jump into you first, are they a certain type of profile of business? Are they doing things, can you kind of spot a mile away, right, that seems like the kind of business that will just go and buy the first thing that they like the look of, and then 6 months later be like, not sure I made the right call here?
I think I'm very much
contrast to that. Are there other people that you can look at and be like, these guys need the, it's a way of, I suppose, from your point of view, how do you qualify out and qualify in your prospects then, right?
Do you know what? I haven't found a one-size-fits-all type of business that says you'll definitely be a non-investor or you'll definitely be an over-investor. I've been an SME client as my former role as IT director, and I've been an enterprise customer in that space, and I've found that enterprise customers are well looked after. I find that you with the greatest of respect, you can't get your account managers and your your customer success people off the phone at all. Whereas as an SME customer, you are left to your own devices, and because I have that technical knowledge, I've been okay. I've managed to operate in that space. But you do find that in the SME space, they tend to be owner-led businesses, and you either get and if there's a couple of people operating at the SLT level, like the top director level, you tend to get the one that's very reserved and sort of very held back, and he or she tends to be the more operational type head, and then you've probably got one that's a bit more, come on, let's get it done and let's get out there and let's buy this and everything like that. And it very much depends on who's the stronger character when it comes to spending the money as to how they operate. And I think those are the most, I feel, in the SME space, I feel they are the most successful types of business to work for, because you've got a good balance between the two. It's just what path they take that business down, whether they invest or don't invest and sit back. But ultimately, I think it's all about good foundation as well. Have a good ATS system, have a good IT infrastructure. Making sure that you understand. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to understand the intricacies. But I think just as long as you understand what technology can do for you and where you can take it, and if that means bringing in someone like me to help you with that journey and help with that understanding, then great. But if you already have that knowledge and you just need someone just to help you on along the way.
Sometimes it's nice to just get sense checked, right? I talk about this a lot in terms of consumer awareness is in growing year on year. There's tons of information out there. Now with GPT, actually even quicker access to that information, and so actually there is a lot of people that are kind of like, no, I know what I'm buying, I know why I'm buying it, but those people should perhaps also be looking at kind of like, maybe I should just sense check this with somebody who's in the know to challenge me to kind of provide an alternative product or service that might, give me something to think about, right?
It can't help to have a second pair of eyes, and especially if you've got an educated second pair of eyes as well, and someone that's in the space that understands it. And it's my job to make sure that I keep on top of these things and understand what's good, what's not so good. Certainly in our industry, you can look at something and it can look absolutely brilliant on the surface, but if you gave it to a handful of recruiters and they start changing things or start trying to adapt or trying to do things their own way, then it can be very detrimental to your business as well.
It's a tough one. It's a really hard balancing act, I think, for recruitment software vendors and people who create these new products and services that hit the market, or actually have existing products, to find a one-size-fits-all solution, right? Because our industry is such a fascinating one in the you can have a room of 100 recruiters and there'll be 100 different ways that these guys do their job.
Yeah.
And because of that, the solution that we provide might be suitable for 20% of that market, 30% of that market, at best case scenario 40%, But there'll always be ones that doesn't work for me. In my market or how I operate, it doesn't work for me.
I think uniformity has its place. I think recruitment can be what you make of it. It can be very simple, it can be very complex, and I think the people that try and simplify it or try to keep it as simple as possible will, to a degree, have a lot more success. If you can have that uniformity, whether it be across a department or across a business, and that consistency, then it's familiar. And then because it's familiar, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a one size fits all, but if you can get 70-80% of that process as consistent across the business or across a business unit as possible, then you make changes in that final 20% depending on the client or the market or the type of role. If you've got those specifics, then that uniformity will drive much more consistent data and reporting, and hopefully profit and revenue to go with it as well.
Let's talk about data and reporting for a second, because I think we were both at the Recruitment Expo yesterday, which data seems to be the new buzzword, and data-driven decision making seems to be where a lot of these vendors are heading, which is kind of exactly that, right? We're no longer trying to provide a solution that's going to fit all of the recruiters in your business. What we're now trying to do is give you as much and extract as much value and information out of your existing tech so that you can make the decisions as to what you do next. Whether you go, go back to a geographical model, whether you decide to expand out to the US or other markets, and that seems to be the main driver for a lot of tech. Why do you think that is?
I think I've always been a big believer of your ATS and your CRM systems. They're your intellectual property at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. There's money to be made from the database that you have.
Yeah.
If you manage that database and nurture it well, then your journey into AI, automation, and all of these key buzzwords that are around at the moment will be easier. Mm. But if you don't harness that data and you don't use it properly, and you go out to market every time you've got a new role, and you don't almost have a database first policy, then you'll find that some of these new automation tools and things like that you'll struggle with. It is garbage in, garbage out, and you can have a lot of success with automation if the foundation is there. But equally, I think you can find yourself exposing your business to risk if you don't rein it in and make sure that you have a good automation strategy and good quality data in your system before you then start rolling a lot of these
But that
tools
responsibility sits with the consultants, right? Because they're the ones that are constantly pumping the database full of information. Now, I can talk from experience that if you work in a business which is, you're working to a set of KPIs and so on and so forth, and there is an element of tick box exercise, it's then hard to at the same time be like, look, I do want you to register 50 candidates a week, but I also want you to code them all up perfectly and accurately into the database. That's a lot to do when you then add on all the other KPIs and stuff like that, right? And I think that sometimes gets forgotten about by business owners and by the sort of the software vendors who create these things. It's like, recruiters are fascinating people in that we are not in a negative way, but we are inherently lazy, and the least we have to do in the least number of clicks, that's what we like. So we're wowed by things where if I can drag a document into a product or service that then spits out a CV that's blind and badged up, and I haven't had to do any manual intervention, I rate that more than a system that would say, I can tell you, based on this job spec, here's 15 really solid candidates for you to approach. Like, we're going to find the passing product a lot more useful because it saves us the time, whereas we don't see the immediate value on the other side a lot of the time, right? So how do you balance that then? Like, you got...
I think I've always been a big believer in... I've always tried to promote myself as not an IT guy. I've always not been... IT guys, unfortunately get a bit of a bad rep. They're inherently quite reserved, and they'll lock themselves in a cupboard, and they only come out when something's broken or there's an alarm going off. Whereas I've always sort of prided myself on sitting myself in the middle of a sales floor and really understanding what the business needs at that point. And you can work with the most junior of resourcer and the most senior of director, but
you're right, but I think tech that's built by recruiters or with recruiters in mind tends to be, I think, the more popular choice, right?
Yeah.
You can have an all singing, all dancing, bells and whistles product, which is built by a tech-minded individual who brings to the forefront of all the kind of cool, funky shit that it can do, and those data decision making, and works off this document that tells them all the things that are important. But I mean, there's a clear trend in that those software providers and products that are out there at the minute who are built by recruiters for recruiters, they get it.
I think there always has to come with a certain element of a little bit of extra effort now will save you a lot of time in the future. I think it's dangerous to rely purely on a single product to deliver you that golden egg. I think we shouldn't kid ourselves in thinking that all these tools are going to do everything we need for them. I think there's a certain reservedness around AI and automation that it's going to replace everyone's jobs, but I do still feel that you need that squidgy thing on the end of a phone to really sell the role or really properly qualify the candidate.
Let's talk about that then.
Yeah.
So automation and AI. Why do you think so many people are scared of it in the recruitment industry? Because by and large, a lot of people are really negative about it.
I think it's a lack of understanding, and I do think it's the fear of perhaps being replaced by this automated tool that could be, it could be £1,000 a month, whereas a recruiter could be £6,000 a month. But
then just be better than the machine, right?
I don't think it's as simple as that. I think it's what you sell and how you sell it, and recruiters can be very successful.
Which is being better,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The AI and automation tools are great lab assistants. They're not scientists.
Yeah.
But if all you're doing is scanning an item and putting it in the bag, if all you're doing is taking a requisition, doing a CV search, emailing other candidates, phoning the ones that email you back, registering them through a process, booking the interview and dealing with the offer, of course you're going to get replaced by AI. And you fucking deserve to be replaced by AI.
If you're transactional.
Because you're not adding any value, right?
Yeah.
If you're the kind of recruiter that's sitting down with your client and you're mapping out their hiring strategy and you're sitting there and providing additional value by here's all the market research we're doing, or of all the candidates I'm speaking to, I'm asking them these 3 questions and actually my target market, here's what they're saying, and you're adding additional value in a variety of other ways and consulting with your client, well, you're not going to get replaced by AI because AI can't do that and probably won't be able to do that for at least a decade. But if all you're doing is just following a process from A to B,
you kind of expect it
time's
really.
up.
Yeah.
Like,
If you're going to be super transactional about it, then you've got to expect what's coming to you. But I think you can make these tools help you on your journey. A good description I heard about automation the other day was, if you had a personal assistant, what would you give to them? If you want to make your job as successful as possible, what task would you give the personal assistant? And yes, it's probably going to be log in some notes, or it's going to be
formatting CVs
and all of that stuff. And perhaps you have quite a regimented process of communication to your clients. I've built a fantastic aftercare process for the business I previously worked for, and there was 2 different types to it. You had one part of the business that were quite happy for automated text messages and emails and notifications going out in the business to their candidates and clients to check in. And we built these things so it looked like it was coming from the consultant, and it was really good. But actually, the other side of the business wanted to be a lot more hands-on. They wanted to have a bit more control. So it was very much geared around notifying the consultant to reach out and just reminding them that they needed to pick up with that candidate. And when you're dealing with extended notice periods, 12, 16 weeks potentially, then you need to make sure you keep in touch with these people, but also make sure you report on these things as well. Make sure that these aftercare processes are being fulfilled, and you're not necessarily KPIing them, but you are letting them know that you're aware that they haven't carried out that check-in call and they haven't caught up with that candidate. Because if you're dealing with longer notice periods, invariably you're dealing with bigger fees as well. So protect the fee.
You're protecting your revenue. Yeah. And I suppose this is it, isn't it? Because you can have like both sides of the scale, in that you can have automation tech and recruitment tech that's out there that will framework your day and give you the nudges that you need and reminders that you need. Oh, now you've got to do this, and now remember that placement we did 3 months ago. Well, she starts next month or next week.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have a reaching call there and that kind of thing, all the way to I'll do it all for you. You just plug in what's going on and I'll do the rest. I'll craft the email, I'll respond back to the first email, and if I don't know what, I'll kind of forward it through to your inbox if needs be, and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's good that there's the range that's out there, because there's so many people that are so against it. But I think the key thing I think to consider is, though, that what do you do if you are one of those agencies that has gone and took out everything and now is sitting there thinking, shit, I don't use half of this stuff? Because, most people have that kind of that what's it, buyer's remorse, right? You buy something, you think it's going to be great, it's not great, and then you're like, okay, that contract ends in 3 months' time, I'm not even going to fucking renew it and review it. But then the problem with that is they're never going to buy that tech ever again, even if it was now right for them. So how do you as a consultant deal with those like personas of customers?
Well, do you know what the first thing I hear is, this is rubbish, we bought this, it's been crap, like we can't use it. And actually a lot of it's down to education and how you use it and how it's been implemented as well. And sometimes, quite often, what they've implemented isn't rubbish, they're just not using it correctly, or as I said earlier, it served a purpose at a time, and they've probably not reutilized it or rebuilt it or adjusted it so it then fits the new business model that you're currently operating for. Sometimes it can be recoverable. Sometimes it might just be easier to bin it off and start from scratch and retrain your consultants so they are more aligned with this newer way of working rather than relying on this fancy tool that you spent loads of money on.
I feel for the consultants though. We have this in my business, and every sort of month or 2 months we would have another bit of tech that we're trialing out, or that we're like, oh, this looks good, and this could add this level of a new dynamic to your approach and whatever. And it wasn't until one of the consultants, we were chatting on a night out, a few beers in, and he was like, mate, will you fucking stop signing up to shit? And I, what do you mean? He's like, I haven't even got my head around the last thing that we were using, and now you're asking me to do it this way, and then this, and then this, and then this. And you do, and that wasn't until that point I was sort of like, yeah, I kind of get that. Like, you guys are trying to run a desk, which is complicated enough as it is. And then you've got your manager or your boss or your founder or director coming up to you and saying, we've just signed up to this bit of software, I need you to start using this. And that's usually how it goes. I need you to start using this. We are now using this. There's no consultancy that takes place with the staff. No one, or very rarely do businesses sit down with their front line and go, guys, what are we missing? What do you need?
I mean, that sounds like a business that's not quite sure about where it wants to go and what it wants to do.
Absolutely.
I think it's really important, and I always try to assess the business first, and as I said, try and understand where you want to take the business, and make sure that the tech is ready for you on that journey and can be tailored to help you grow or expand, or take on new heads or take on new markets, or even...
That's that techie person in you, because my immediate thought is, yes, you've got to have the tech ready, but actually you've got to be business ready as well. Your business has to be ready,
yes, definitely,
to adopt new technology,
definitely.
Right? Because there's no point if you've got an entire sales force that are insistent on doing it on this way, and you're coming in going, this is the way forward. You're not ready to.
And that's why you assess the business first, and make sure you understand why you're trialing this new product, and make sure that you're trialing it for the right reasons, and not just because some guy on a golf course told you it was the best thing since sliced bread. I think always go in with an educated mind, and also if you are trialing these products, make sure you are trialing them at the right point. You're not doing it 1st of January where everyone's coming back, or you're not doing it at the busiest point of the year, because they're going to be distracted, and invariably the information that you get out of that trial isn't going to be reflective of what a normal business day looks like. Quite often businesses will trial new bits of software because they are ultra busy, or they've had a huge inquiry in, or they just started working with a new business and they want to impress.
Want them to be able to do X, Y, and
and quite often that's not the right time to do it. You almost want to do it at not necessarily your most quietest periods, but the most normal, most plateaued part.
I think that's a really key point, isn't it? If your tech purchasing decision making is reactive to a scenario or a situation, you've already lost, really, because you're on the back foot. Whereas actually, by sitting thinking, as you rightfully said and a few times there, where do you want to be? What are you aiming towards? If you have that in mind, then you know what you need to deliver to get there. And if to deliver those things you need a certain tech stack, then that makes sense to look into and invest in. Rather than be like, I've just won this big account, they want me to DBS check everybody, so I now need a bit of software that does DBS checks. Because then you're running straight to the market with checkbook in hand. Who can sign me up the fastest? Provide me the best product and solution for my budget that I've got, but I don't even have a budget because I don't know how much it was going to cost. And I was not expecting to have to buy this.
And then you're probably not going to train your staff correctly because it's a reactive. Thing, and then that's when the rock
because the placements are now starting to stack up, they need to be run through, so you train one person to do it, that person's job is now doing all the DBS checks, and you're like, did that one, that was good, but actually you missed out on the best solution for your business.
Or the client's pulled the plug, and then you're left with this huge cost and wasted time, because you might have gone through proper due diligence and trained your staff beautifully. You've taken them out of their day job to train them in this new bit of kit, and then the client's gone elsewhere.
Which again, I've seen that, and then they go, okay, well, we have the tech now, So then the answer to that is then let's dedicate business development time to winning an account that needs us to have this tech. So you then justifying the existence of that spend and that tech by trying to win business that you really didn't want to win in the first place because you'd never had it.
Agreed.
To begin with. Yeah, it's such a bizarre situation. Fair. Right. Okay, let's talk trends in the marketplace at the minute then. So what kind of tech trends are you seeing? What sort of demand is there for product portfolio? What are people kind of going, oh yeah, we need this?
What I'm seeing a lot of at the moment is how you deliver the candidate to your client.
Right.
So whether it be in the form of, do you remember back in the old days, you'd get a CV in and then you'd be asked to reformat it and then you'd send it out, and that was normally quite a laborious process, and they'd never really be consistent, and the message might not always be delivered because you'd get your CV in on a Friday afternoon and you'd want to get out quickly. There's candidate delivery and how it looks to the client, I think, has become really important, and whether that's in the form of reformatting a CV and using AI tools to enhance that and generate profiles and a consistent message across the business, or in the form of portals whereby the client now has a lot more sort of self-service options to them, requesting those interviews, request more information. Perhaps we could set up a quick call via WhatsApp or something like that. I think there's a lot of excitement around those as well, and with the AI plugins that generate these profiles and actually scrape pieces of information from places like LinkedIn in order to enhance this product that you are delivering to your client. They seem to be very popular at the moment. I'm quite excited to see where they're going to go, because there's been some new products to market in the last few months that are evolving at a phenomenal rate. That are around this, and imagine what they'll be like in 6-12 months time.
Once they've been market tested, feedback's gone back, right, this worked, this didn't work. Absolutely. And I think this is the beauty that unfortunately a lot of people within our industry miss with the advancements in things like AI, right? The no code, low code tech that's out there. You can now validate an idea and take it to a validated MVP, and then invest money in building the product and solution out, right? Whereas historically it was never that way. We would sit down, we would have an idea, and then we would go and spunk 30-40 grand in building a very bare bones version of it, take that to market and see what people thought, and then go, right, people want it, let's put the rest of the money into building it. And then there's the pressure of selling it, which then skyrockets the prices because you're trying to recoup on your build costs. Whereas now it's we have that same idea, between me, you, and potentially an offshore, off-site developer, we can build out a very, very basic low-code, no-code MVP, take that to market and say, what do you guys think of this? Get validation, and then go, right, actually, let's invest in this and keep that cost low, and therefore take it to market at a more affordable rate.
Quite often they roll it out for free. And get very good buy-in, because I think if you get something for free and you're very open about what you're trying to do with this product, that will help you get a good idea of when you then come to monetize that as to what you sell it for. And you might have a whole load of early onboarders that stay on the free version, but also you can then start building out your monetized options. It's a proven
model, isn't it? It's a proven tech, like certainly in the tech space. There's a lot of positives to take off that. It's a funny one. I think the tech world is in a great place, and I think the recruitment industry, which is usually the last to kind of have things trickle down to it, is at a place now where we can kind of fire ahead and start really changing the game up, right? Like you said, by freeing up the recruiter's time away from admin tasks and admin focused tasks into actual either value adding tasks or more business development, because that seems to be the kind of the growing trend at the minute. Everyone seems to want more clients.
One thing that I'm not embarrassed to talk about is my first journey into automation, and I was very excited about it, and there was a particular product that I was looking to purchase, and fortunately the SLT who I working with at the time were very embracing of new ideas and technology, and we delivered a really good presentation to them, and they were like, yes, Rich, go and invest it. And I sort of went skipping around the office telling everyone that we're going to get automation and it's absolutely brilliant, it's going to change your lives and everything like that. But then I came in the next day, and it the feeling around automation, I'd got it wrong. Like the recruiters thought that I was replacing them. And actually I had to take a step back and just sort of reevaluate how I was delivering this. And actually, I learned a big lesson. Communication is key, and how you deliver it, I think, is really important. I actually stopped using the word automation from that point, and then I started re-channeling and re-delivering the message in a slightly different way. So we were using terms like, this will make you time rich, or taking away those more admin tasks will then
words like enhancement and language is so important. I think we forget that sometimes, don't we?
And it's money. Let's be honest. Recruiters are there to make money. So if you can not even spin it, but if you can deliver it in a way that lets them know that this thing that you're going to implement will allow them to focus more on their BD, which can then convert into more roles, which can then convert into more money in their pockets.
If you want to get into a recruiter's psyche, talk to them in pounds and pence.
Yeah.
Talk to them in time. Talk to them with those messages, not with scary things that are going to make them think you're being replaced.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's how I deliver the message to my clients now. I say, look, it's all in the communication. Let them know that this thing is potentially coming. Let them know that this is what it means for them, and give them all the positives. But don't be afraid to answer some of those more difficult questions about what it could mean for the future and stuff like that. I think it's all about honesty, and I think it's really important for me, not just to be the IT guy that's rolling out this kit every few months, but actually make sure that it's delivered in the right way and to the right people. And if you can get some of those key stakeholders, those more respected individuals within the business, perhaps even the more successful individuals within the business, once you get those guys on board, you'll find that it then cascades down and then trickles into the people that are probably a bit more reserved and a bit more hesitant to try these things. But together as one, I think be consistent, be uniform across the business, and be together and push.
No, cool.
Push as well.
No, yeah. It's certainly exciting times, I think, for most recruitment agencies. 2024 seems to have now been. It seems to be the year that people are kind of pressing on, pushing on, trying new things, being a lot more open to risk taking, given how bad 2023 was. So, this has been good. Right. So, what have you got going on at the minute? Anything you want to plug? Here's your chance.
My business is all about bringing together IT in the traditional sense, but also understanding the recruitment business process and making tech and good process work for you guys as recruitment leaders and business owners.
Nice, like it. How do people connect with you? How do you want them to reach out to you? Website, LinkedIn, what's the best way?
All the usual, website, LinkedIn. I have an Instagram account if you're really that way inclined, but you'll find me. My business is Caldicott Consulting. I'm Richard Caldicott. You'll find me.
Yeah, good man. No, appreciate this. This has been good. Thank you very much for your time, man.
Thank you.
And if anyone's still listening, please, I've got to say this now. I've got to start saying the whole like and subscribe thing, because YouTube keeps prompting me with it as well. So
don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And
follow us on Spotify.
Yeah, follow us on
all other platforms are available.
Yeah, everything's out there except for Google Podcasts, because Google Podcasts have fallen off now.
Yeah,
they're not doing that anymore. Yeah, no, I'm going to cut this bit out. This is that was shit. I don't like doing the whole like and subscribe. Please follow me. That was really good, man.
Thank you.
That. Yeah, do you know, honestly,